15th, 2022 Village Board meeting. This meeting is being conducted both in person and remotely. For the record, this is Village President Mark Zula, and I'm currently at our regular meeting location, Roscoe Village Hall. Provisions have been made to allow elected officials, village staff, and members of the public to participate remotely if necessary. As always, any action taken tonight will be conducted by a roll call vote. Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. I will now ask all those present to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Given the audio delay issues, we will ask everyone participating remotely to keep their microphone on mute during the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Item 3, roll call. Clerk, would you please call the roll? And for those trustees joining us remotely, please acknowledge that you can hear the proceedings.
Dunn.
Here.
Block.
Here.
Petty. Here. Malaco.
Here.
Keen.
Here, and I can hear you.
Gustafson.
Carol.
Here, and I can hear you.
Thank you. Item 4, public comment. Are there any members of the public that wish to be heard under public comment this evening? If there are any members of the public logged into the meeting this evening that wish to speak, please unmute your phone or microphone, state your name and address, and always please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Keep in mind, if you are remote right now, if you hit *6, it'll raise your hand. And then Joe Kerlinkus can let us know that you're going to be entering into public comment. Joe, do we have any hands raised?
No, we do not. We have a few people from the public, but no hands are raised.
No hands raised. Any folks that are sitting out in there right now wish to come and speak? No, public comment is now gone. Item 5, President's Report. Okay. I have a few things on our President's Report this evening. First thing I'd like to do is I want to take a moment tonight to make a long overdue acknowledgement. Village Trustee Anthony King spent his working career ensuring the safety and efficient operation of large-scale factories in the field of plant production. Over his many years in the industry, Anthony achieved the highest levels of safety compliance and OSHA certification possible, and through numerous awards and commendations, he has been recognized for his excellent record in the field of safety and quality assurance. Upon his retirement, Anthony relocated to Roscoe, Illinois, where he chose to continue that commitment to serve by running and being elected as a village trustee in his new hometown. Recently, Anthony's industry-wide reputation led to a former employer reaching back out with a request for help. A former plant manager who is now running a facility in Mojave, California, asked Anthony to come out of retirement to oversee the production and application of product critical to the defense industry and the safety of our armed forces. The process needed the most qualified person in the field, and that person was Trustee Anthony King. Anthony has maintained his residence here in Roscoe, where his wife and daughter reside, and has continued in his role as village trustee uninterrupted throughout. I want to take this opportunity to thank Anthony for his service, both to the village and his country. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I need a little water because that one took all of it out of me. Okay. The other thing I'd like to bring up on our President's Report, Collective Bargaining Committee. Another thing I want to take care of during the President's Report is the appointment of the Collective Bargaining Committee for the expiring agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council. We have been getting the administrative formalities out of the way in the past couple of months, but it's time for the committee to come together and get involved, bringing forward a proposal to full board and final approval. As established by Ordinance 2018-14, the committee shall consist of the village president, the village administrator, and 2 trustees selected by the village president. I select Trustee Block and Mike Dunn. As required by ordinance, I will designate Trustee Dunn as primary member and Trustee Block as alternate member. And thank you, gentlemen, for jumping on board with me on that. Let's see. That's that with the president's report. Item 6, treasurer's report. Steve.
Bills submitted for approval tonight are expenditure per list of $753,430. We have payroll expenses of $88,462. Meaning cash on hand after payment of the bills of $9,064,467. We have motor fuel expenses tonight of $368,974, leaving cash on hand in the motor fuel fund after payment of $1,180,220.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We have a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
First by Justin Black, second by Stacy Malaco. Any discussion? Clerk call the
Yes.
roll.
No, Carol had her hand
Hold
up.
on, hold on, hold on. Go ahead, Carol. Are you there?
Yes,
Okay,
Madam
we're-
Secretary, I would like you again to record my objection to paying the bill for Lang Brothers Lighting. The Christmas lights that I thought were an excessively expensive expenditure.
Okay.
Was that it, Carol?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Clerk call the roll, please.
Gustafson,
yes,
Flock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes,
Petty. Yes. Dunn.
yes,
Motion carries 6-0. Item 7, consent agenda. Can I please get a motion to approve the minutes from the November 1st, 2022 village board meeting?
so moved.
First by Anthony King. Can I have a second?
Okay.
Second by Stacy Malaco. Any discussion? Clerk call the roll, please.
Malaco,
Yes.
Petty. Yes. Dunn,
Yes,
Gustafson,
yes,
Flock,
Yes.
Kane.
yes,
Okay. Motion carries 6-0. Item 8, we actually didn't have anything to move forward from committee of the whole. The last committee of the whole, so we have nothing under item 8 this evening. New business. The following 2 items will be up as a first reading this evening, and we will ask for a recommendation for approval at the December 6th board meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. Item 9, approval of resolution 2022-R71, approving the settlement agreement with Jacob Feldhaus. Joe, could you just give a quick background on that if you would be so kind?
Yeah, briefly, our departments and many departments right here have repayment agreements for training reimbursements. When we have new officers come in here, the village obviously pays their expenses up front, pays their training for police academy and their police certifications up front. And then we expect them to work several years and repay us back over that time as part of working here, and we have agreement with them. This one, we had an officer, Mr. Feldhaus, who left prior to those 3 years being completed. And so we ended up taking him to court to enforce that agreement. And this is the settlement, or essentially closing out the agreement and closing out this court case. An agreement where he will pay the village $3,700 within 21 days of everybody approving the agreements. And then we'll close out that case after we get that payment. So this will close out that Feldhaus case.
Excellent. Any questions on that? Anybody? No? Good. Item 9.2, selection of hold on. I take that back. I apologize. My bust. But
Do you want them to make a recommendation does it need to be recommended on for approval at the next one, or is it just simply a reading and
I think
then?
this will be simply a reading tonight for both these issues, I believe.
Except they'll have to make a recommendation on the next.
I'm correct, you're right. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go ahead. Square right. So we actually don't have to vote on it tonight, right, Joe?
Right, this is just
Yeah.
the first read.
Yep.
Yep.
Item 9.2, selection of contractor for approval and disposal for residential waste, hauling and billing services in the village of Roscoe. Scott, your turn.
I just gave this was in everyone's pack, but I gave everyone a printed copy of the bid tab. I think we have representatives from both entities here tonight. They both have this bid tab in their possession as well. I just want to quickly go through this and then open it up for any questions and discussion. As instructed, we put together the request for proposals with a number of options. One of those options was to keep the scope of services exactly the same as they are now. And just to remind everyone, that is weekly collection of residential waste, weekly collection of recycling, seasonal collection of landscape or yard waste, and then unlimited bulk collection. I'll let them. Option 2 was much the same, except recycling becomes every other week. The only difference between option 1 and option 2 is that recycling will be every other week, and they'll provide a larger toter
96 gallon.
to span the additional week. Option 3 and 4 is where we start to break it out to be more a la carte. Option 3, again, these all keep graduating from the previous one. It's still every other week recycling, but it breaks yard waste out as optional annual add-on by our residents. Option 3 is the same, where it adds on yard waste, but it also breaks out bulk collection and makes all bulk collection pay by the item as you put it out. People were or the vendors or the bidders were also allowed to submit an alternate proposal of their own choosing. If they wanted to frame something different, they had the ability to do that as well. But quickly going through these, as expected, we received 2 responses in the RFP: Waste Management and Rock River Disposal. Those are the 2 players in our region right now. Both cover a lot of territory. Both are large, reputable firms that have the equipment and manpower to meet our needs. Keeping it the same, you can see the Waste Management's proposal was $29.30 per month. And Rock River Disposal provided or offered 2 rates: $27.50 as a standard rate and a senior discount of $26 a month. That's keeping everything exactly the same now. Option 2, again, taking it to every other week was recycling. Waste Management goes to $25.50 per month. Rock River Disposal is $26.90 with a senior rate of $25.40. Option 3 is interesting. I want to talk about this one. Option 3 is the one I thought might be the most intriguing personally, whatever that's worth. That drops in Waste Management proposal, that drops the monthly collection rate for garbage and recycling, well, every other week recycling, to $20.35. And then it's a one-time seasonal add-on or seasonal for yard waste. If you decide you want to put yard waste out, you pay a one-time $150 fee to do it for the season. And that same option, Rock River Disposal, is up at $25.75 with a senior rate of $24.25 and $185 for the yard waste add-on. Now I want to stay on that one for a second, because again, looking at the lower dollar amounts for the monthly is tempting and attractive. However, currently about 70% of Roscoe residents utilize yard waste collection. If you take that either $150, $185, we'll focus on Waste Management at the moment. If you took that $150 and divide that by 12 months, that's $12.50 a month. And so taking that option actually puts your monthly rate at $32.85 a month, significantly higher than the other options that you might select. Likewise, with Rock River Disposal, the $185 would break out to $15.42 a month if you proportion that out over the course of the year, just to have a comparative monthly, pushing those numbers up to $41.17 and $39.67. I think it's a safe and obvious statement to make, is that for those that want to pick yard waste, we would be making things significantly more expensive for them to do so. And I suspect, just as we did, everyone else would quickly do that math and figured out that the 150 or the 185 spikes them up significantly. And given the relatively high percentage of people that utilize it now, option 3 looks less attractive to me, to my analysis. Option 4 breaks out bulk items, and to me, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth here, but to me, it looks like that just wasn't an option that they really aggressively pursued. If you look at the Waste Management one, they didn't even drop the monthly rate, even though they took the bulk collection out of it. And the rates for Rock River Disposal are still higher to some of the other comparable options. So I don't know that option 4 was even, I don't think it was probably a very attractive way to handle this, to structure the agreement to either. I think what we can look at, and I have followed up with both of them to ask, just to follow up about that option 3, and it's what we speculated, it's what we talked about when we framed the RFP, is that either of these vendors is going to value standardization, going to value one contract, one scope of services, one invoicing platform, one set of clients to stop at, and to not have to figure out these differences at the time of setting them up, invoice them in different ways, and have drivers going to 2 different sets of residences. I suspected that lack of standardization, that sort of complication, would lead to an increase in pricing. Also, just the uncertainty, and they both expressed to me that the uncertainty of not knowing how many people would take it, the lawn waste. So they up that because if the number of people taking advantage, they still have to send the trucks out, they still have to collect it. And if there are fewer people participating in it, those fewer people have to pay more, essentially. So it does put a disproportional burden on the people that are using that service. Now, on the alternates, just so you know what they are, Waste Management provided an alternate option number 1, which is going to, it's kind of a riff or a variation of option 3. It still has the $150 yard waste add-on, but it takes recycling back to every week rather than every other week. My opinion is that for the same reasons we just stated with the disproportionate cost of that $150 yard waste rider, that takes alternate option 1 probably off the table for consideration. Rock River Disposal's alternate number 1, well, actually 1 and 2 both. We put this out with a request for a 5-year contract, and both of a 5-year term of agreement. Same, 2 different ways to say the same thing. We have in their annual escalators, as are comparable to every other municipality that's doing this now, that will be based upon this Midwestern CPI not to exceed 4%. So if CPI is less than 4%, that would be the annual adjustment. If it's more than 4%, it would cap at that number. We requested a 5-year agreement. Rock River Disposal provided 2 sets of rates if we were to pursue if we would commit to a 10-year agreement. Alternate option number 1 keeps the scope of services the same at $25 a month, $23.50 for a senior rate. That's comparable to their $27.50 and $26 in option 1. It's basically saying option number 1 as we proposed it, but with a 10-year commitment rather than a 5-year commitment. Alternate option number 2 is again a 10-year solid 10-year commitment to with weekly recycling and yard waste as an add-on. Again, that yard waste add-on concerns me. So I'll add with that, I'll ask if you guys have any questions. How about that?
Well, option 2 is the best bang for our buck, with over 70% of our residents needing yard waste continuously. And that's not a joke. I know in my subdivision, I think it's a little bit more than 70%, to be honest with you. Well, but and they utilize it all the time. Bullet rate, keep in mind, folks, that if you got something in bulk, you can put one thing out, at a time. If you got 2 things, this the next week, put out the second one, right? Otherwise, they're going to have to charge it. Pretty simple. It's not that hard to figure out. That's pretty much my sentiments on it. And just keep in mind, everything goes up, it doesn't go down. Fuel prices, everything else. So,
as a reminder, just by frame of reference, probably everyone remembers, but we are currently paying $15. Currently, our residents pay $15 a month for essentially what is in option 1. We knew that was unsustainable. They've been asking for years to revisit that. We did not revisit it.
very true. Very true.
We are catching up with the market.
Yes, without a doubt. And then they do, Just one of them things. Everything goes up, doesn't come down. That's what it is.
I have some questions.
Carol?
First, regarding yard waste. How did you ascertain that 70% of our residents use yard waste? If we're doing it anecdotally, when I look through my subdivision, that is not true. If we do it by asking people, as I walked around and asked individuals about, do they use it? What would they like regarding every other week recycling, so on and so forth, because I knew these issues were coming up. I got about a 30% response of people who said that they use yard waste on a regular basis. So how do we know that 70% of our residents use yard waste?
Now, would you like to feel that, or would you like not to?
You can go ahead.
So, yeah, we went back and we asked, and they went to the drivers. And the drivers said that a little over 70% of all the residents of Roscoe use yard waste every week.
It's data received from the current vendor.
Yep.
Does the collection.
they've
And I
been
forget,
for
They
7 years.
they also gave me the specific tonnage that they've collected because that's tracked.
Yeah.
Do you gentlemen remember what the ton number you provided was?
It's a bunch.
59, 69.
In 2022, it was 620 tons through October.
Over 620 tons, I said 69, 620 tons of yard waste collected this year so far through October. And again, we asked them to confer with their drivers, especially drivers that had long history or been on routes for a while, what their estimation was of the percent of houses that put yard waste out with their trash, and they said 70%. That's how the data has been arrived.
Now, if this was a carve out or an a la carte and someone chose the yard waste, for example, if we went with either option 3 or option 4, where it's billed, that would be billed prior to the start of the season for those people who choose it. Just what would the mechanics of this look like?
Yes, that would be billed in a lump sum in advance of the April 1st start of collection season. Is it April 1st, I think, what it traditionally is? Yes, lump sum in advance of the collection season.
Okay. And regarding the every other week recycling, we had once been told that the recycle bins might be larger. Is that going to be the case?
96 gallon, Carol, unless you request that you would like a smaller one, like some of our older residents might not want a 96 gallon one. They might want the traditional 35. They can still get that.
Okay. And then these costs include, for whichever way we go, all of the administrative costs associated with the invoicing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
So if I'm reading this, if I understand it, option 2 is just exactly what we have now, except recycling is only once every other week.
Yeah, every other week, correct? Yes, twice a month.
Okay.
That is correct.
I don't want to call everyone out, but I almost do want to call everyone out because this is so important. It's you questions, thoughts, comments.
Seems like to me, Rock River alternate option 1 makes the most sense because it's everything we have. And the one of the lower prices is just a 10 years instead of 5.
And it gives a senior rate.
And it has a senior rate, so it kind of gets everything we were hoping for. Well, still more than we were hoping for, but. Right, because option 1 is 10 years, just as it is,
That is correct.
and it has a senior rate. So I guess, I don't know, your straw point, what, that seems to be the best option I see.
How is option 2 of waste management at $25.50 less desirable than option 1, Rock River, at $27.50 for non-seniors and $26 for seniors?
Alternate 1, Carol, is what I said, not just option 1. Alternate 1 is at 25 and 23.50. That's
The
more
10-year?
attractive. Yep,
the 10-year?
yes, ma'am.
Explain why you're comfortable with going 10 years.
Because everything goes up and this locks them in.
Assuming they're in business 10 years from now and not bought by Waste Management.
Which could happen.
Anything can
We got
happen,
laughter out here, so. Say it.
anything can happen.
Yeah, the only thing that I would chime in on that is, the reason why I lean a little bit more towards the option 2 with Waste Management is, trial and error. They did it for the last 6-7 years with the building and everything else. We had very little issues in regards to that. They do a good job for us. Anytime we've ever had an issue, we call them up. Boom, they fix it. I mean, I can recall, I don't remember the subdivision, but we had an oil leak out there and they came out there with scrubbers and everything. And I mean, wash that puppy just slicker to nothing right away. And we've never, I mean, there's a value to some of the issues we've had over the years that they've always came right on out, took care of them. And just in the building alone, some of the nightmares I think the company went through in the beginning, the first couple, 3 years had to be very financially and everything else.
That's true.
Not sticking up for one or the other. I'm just from being around them and being in business that, I get it, right? There's a price that everyone has to pay to get it started and everything. And the role model that they utilized with us over the last 7 years, it was very well done. That's my.
So conversely, going with Waste Management option 2 at $25.50, which is pretty comparable to everything we have now, would cost $306 a year. Whereas going with their option 4 with the a la carte, if someone were only to choose the garbage and recycling, their annual cost would be $244.20. So just to be clear, we're asking some 25% of the population to subsidize the yard waste of the remainder. Those
Yes.
people who use it.
I think option 4 is off the table because it doesn't make any sense. You'd go option 3 if you did anything.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And keep in mind, I think, and here's my thought on that exact same thing that Carol just said. Is they're saying that 70+% on a weekly basis is doing yard waste, right? So not everyone does yard waste every week, right? Some people do it every other week, some people do it monthly or whatever the case may be. But you will find that a very large percentage of the residents in the village of Roscoe utilize that service. They just don't do it every week. So I think it's unfair to say that 70 to 75% are paying the freight for the other 25. They're just not using it every week.
And perhaps even, when that was phrased the other way, that was saying that the minority, the 25% are subsidizing the 70%. And I just don't know if that's an appropriate way to look at it. I think you should look at what will have the best deal for the largest percentage of the residents. And while $25.50 would become everyone's rate, a portion of the residents, and to our best knowledge, a smaller portion of the residents would be down at $20.35 in option 3. The remainder, which we understand to be the majority, would jump all the way up to $32.85. And I expect severe backlash.
Yeah, that's no. We can't do that.
What's everybody else's take? You've heard our 3.
On a personal basis, I rarely use yard waste. And very few people on my street do. They burn.
They burn their yard clippings too, or they just burn their leaves?
They.
That, I was wondering about that. I'm
Leaves.
actually curious.
I had a neighbor last night. He saved up all summer. My God, I had to close the flue on
Oh,
my fireplace.
Not bad. Not bad.
It was that bad.
Yeah, I drove past and seen that.
Did you?
for what it's worth, I don't vote on this, but I thought at the start of this, when we put this together, I was in my mind thinking option 3 was the best ask and might be our most
Very
attractive option.
divided.
But also I was thinking, and part of it was because I did think that we do allow burning and people burn. But I've talked with it, I've kind of, talked yard waste now with people for when I have the opportunity. And yeah, people burn their leaves, but I don't think many of them burn their grass clippings when they're mowing the lawn all summer. Those they're dumping in the bags and putting out, or in a garbage can with an X on it. Put it out in the street.
In over in the subdivision that, me and Stephanie and Justin live in, and Tony. I don't really see a lot of burning.
I think we would if.
Oh, yeah, we definitely would if we, sure. And it'd be a big cloud at Chicory, right? But we really don't see a lot of burning at all.
The only thing I'll say to you, Stacy, is number 10 is alternate option 1 is attractive. It's it is for the full.
Okay.
I just question, there is some value to a continued commitment to a proven entity and as opposed to perhaps a 10-year commitment to another. And it might be absolutely fine. Of course, it might absolutely be absolutely fine, but when they're that close.
All of the issues in the beginning are all worked out.
Was option 1 and 2 a 10-year commitment?
No, 5.
5 years.
5 years.
Five.
That's certain 5.
The options as we asked them were 5-year commitments.
If we took option 1 and 2 and changed it to a 10, would that make a difference?
You can't do this.
Well, it's what, no, I mean, the numbers you have in front of you now are the numbers you have to work with. That's the hand we're dealt.
Negotiating partners.
Yeah.
Option 2 then.
Me too. For straw polling,
And
option 2.
being a
Waste management.
senior, it would be 10 cents cheaper for me with Rock River, but we already know the commitment that Waste Management has done, like you've said, as far as cleaning up messes or oil spills or whatever. They have, I've been upset when I've seen it.
It is.
They've always come out and taken care of it.
Absolutely.
I'm impressed at what a tight grouping this, by and large, what a tight grouping this was.
Oh, no, appreciate the time and effort from both companies. Absolutely. Very much.
Mark, do you want to straw poll people as to what?
Sure, I'll straw poll people. Stacy.
Are we picking between those two?
No, whichever one you.
Whichever one that you like.
I still like alternate 1 Rock River.
Okay. Justin.
I don't really know, but I guess I'm leaning more option 2 right now
Okay. I'm option 2, Michael.
for waste management.
Option 2, Waste Management.
I'm option 2, waste management. I apologize. I didn't say that.
Option 2.
Option 2, waste management. Anthony,
Same thing, option 2, waste management.
thank you. Carol.
I have a question about option 3, waste management. Would that price include the bulk items?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Okay. First, I do not support any 10-year. And secondly, I still like the cafeteria approach or the a la carte approach, whatever you want to call it. So waste management, option 3 would be my first, but I could live with option 2.
Thank you.
That's 4.5 votes then for option 2, waste management.
Right.
I think that's the recommendation we'll take forward to the next board meeting.
That'll work.
So we'll get together a contract, we'll contact waste management, work up the contract. It should eventually to the formality of it, and we'll bring it forward for board approval agreement next board meeting.
And thank you to everyone for all the work.
Thank you, John.
I have one other request, though.
Sure.
Of them. Would you get a list of other fees, late fees or additional tote fees or stop and start fees,
Yes.
whatever other fees they apply? I would like to
Trustee
see what
Gustafson?
those are.
If you look, I missed this too, but if you look on page, it's 15 of the waste management proposal.
They wouldn't have
It's
it.
actually after the.
We don't have it.
Oh, okay, then yes, we will get those to you. We do have those and we provide those to you. Sorry, I didn't realize you have the proposals.
Yep.
Yes, we'll get those to you. We do have those.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we're back to old business. Anybody got anything under old business? Well, thank you for your time. Item 11,
Hello, wait a minute.
what's that?
Excuse me, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Shouldn't Brandon do his report out?
Did
Sure.
last-
Yeah, absolutely. My apologies, Anthony. Brandon,
Yep, can you guys hear me?
yes, we can clearly, please.
Okay. So I believe that the last meeting, I stated that, a couple updates of projects that have already been completed. The Shepherd Hills Sidewalk Project, the Porter Park Parking Lot Project. And then as you know, the Residential Streets Project has been completed as well. The MFT project, the road frontage road off of 251, that was completed last week. And now the only projects that we are currently under construction for are the Public Works Building Addition. That's not much has changed there the past couple of weeks. The contractor pulled off the site to allow the parking lot construction to take place. And then, leading into the Public Works parking lot, the contractor installed the HMA binder course. So basically the bottom layer of asphalt on that project, and then all of the concrete curb and gutter, things like that. And unfortunately, the weather turned a little bit earlier than we were anticipating. So we're waiting to see if we end up getting higher temperatures next week, as they're predicting, to weigh our options on whether or not we're going to pave the surface course, which would be the final lift this year, or if we are going to have to wait until next year. It just kind of depends on the weather at this point. So those are our active construction projects. And then for the three main design projects, there's really no update on the Main Street project, aside from we had a meeting. Scott, myself, and Seth Grunwald from our office met with representatives from ComEd to discuss the details of the utility relocations, and that would be the overhead power lines, and either rerouting those off of the Main Street corridor, or potentially looking into burying those underground. So ComEd has kind of started that process, and we had a meeting with them to just touch base and see where they were at. Both the Willowbrook and Love Road projects, we have received feedback from IDOT a couple of weeks ago. I confirmed with our staff today that we are planning on resubmitting those IDSs at the end of this week or early next week. And those are my reports. Unfortunately, no major updates, but if there are any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Hey, Brandon, if we don't get that final lift, we have to worry about the big trucks salt running over that?
No, we should be okay. I think talking with Troy, so we actually, if you guys recall, we actually upped the pavement section and did a heavy duty route along the Public Works building. That would be the west side of the parking lot. So what we would try to do is have most of the trucks utilize that heavy pavement section, which currently has 4¼ inches of asphalt in a binder course. So that's the heavier duty stuff that really spreads the load of the trucks a little bit better and doesn't wear down as quickly. So no, I guess we don't really have too many concerns. Obviously, it would be great to get the surface course done, just for some little things like drainage right now, because we're actually about 1 3/4 inches below a lot of the curb lines and things like that. There is some ponding water, but that's to be expected. Once that pulls up, above the curb line, it will eventually get into our detention pond and things like that. But we don't have any major concerns, at least at this point. We had trucks running on it, during paving operations, and didn't really see any movement. That base out there, since we did reconstruct it, is very, very solid. So we're very hopeful that we won't have any major issues. Realistically, if we do have to end up waiting until next year, I've already confirmed with the contractor that they will just have to come back, clean the binder course before they place the surface course. So, but in terms of structural integrity, no, we're not anticipating any issues to arise. But we will do our best to try to keep the traffic on like I said, the heavier duty pavement section.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Brandon? Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. Item 11, public comment. Once again, anyone remaining members of the public, either present or logged in to the meeting this evening, wish to speak, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anybody out there in the public? No, Gene, you sure? You got the comfortable chair and everything. You're good. All right. Joseph, we got anybody out there?
Let me have Gina, does that chair feel good?
It does.
Because that's what we're thinking of.
No, nobody else.
Okay. Public comment going once, public comment going twice. Public comment is now gone. Item 12, executive session. We do need to go in executive session. Can I ask that someone make a motion to enter an executive session for purpose of discussing personnel matters?
Second.
First by Michael Dunn, second by Anthony King. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Petty,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Minutes won't take too long.
Right.
That's.
Nice. Can you do that again?
Gustafson,
Are you in control of the meeting again now, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tony?
Yes.
They're both.
Here.
doing roll call back in.
Yeah, I was thinking again, we're good.
We're good. Gustafson,
Here, yes.
Keen,
Yes, I can hear you.
Malaco,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Petty, yes.
And that was our motion going to open session?
Yeah, open session, yes.
Okay.
Okay, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
First by Sue Petty, can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Michael Dunn. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Dunn,
Yes.
Petty, yes. Flock,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Thank you.